Hi, welcome back everybody, it's Mike Newton down here at Latham Golf Academy. I'm going to do a little bit of testing today, and I recently did a video reviewing the new Ping Blueprint iron that they've just launched, which is beautiful, forged pure blade iron, and I did some on-course testing with that also. And a lot of comments I got was, well, could we blend the sort of Blueprint irons in with maybe some i500s in the longer irons as replacements? And I just want to maybe test that today. So I've got the Blueprint 4 iron, which is coming in at a loft of 23.5 degrees of loft. I've also then got an i500 5 iron, which is 24 degrees of loft. So there's only half a degree difference between the 4 iron and the 5 iron. Okay, and then I've also got the i210 5 iron, which is coming in at 26 degrees. So I'm going to really sort of be interested to see maybe what differences there is in ball speed, spin, distance we're actually hitting. Thinking about a gap in that we'll do as if you're going to transition in a combo set, what is the implements of maybe changing that loft in terms of a gap in? And let's see if i500 is really a good combo with Blueprint, or is it better with the i210? Okay, so we're going to start off with the Blueprint 4 iron. So as I say, 23.5 degrees of loft, and this is a pure blade. It's one piece, it's not hollow. There's a tiny bit of tungsten in that toe section, but a very slim looking, small, compact head. Definitely a player's iron here. So I can understand how a lot of golfers would be really interested in this iron, maybe in those shorter clubs, but then going to that longer iron, this 4 iron is a pretty scary club to look at. So you'd be thinking of maybe just switching them out and putting something a little bit bigger, a little bit more forgiving in those long irons. So we'll hit some shots with the 4 iron first, get some sort of numbers, and then we'll work into that i500 5 iron. Ah, beautiful. So as you'll have probably seen through my review video, I'm a big fan of the Blueprints. They felt fantastic. You know, they look stunning, the feel is superb, the performance was very, very good. It's just they were not very forgiving at all. But again, they're not designed to do that. So that hit the green quite nicely, 208. Slightly left half of the green, but again, really good strike. So just slightly turned over, that's just gaining a little bit more distance because of the shape shot. So very high towering flight, 23.5 degrees with that 4 iron. Let's give one more hit, because they're three decent strikes there. Let's try and put 4 decent connections on, then we've got a good base to go at. Yeah, good. Okay, stunning, beautiful flight, really high flight there. You think hitting that into a green, you've got some real good stopping power, which is a massive advantage with the Blueprints. But again, you've got to be, I think for me, definitely hitting that middle of the golf club to get that performance out of it, which is not easy for a lot of golfers. Okay, so we're going to switch into the i500 5 iron now. Okay, so i500. So the reason I've got the 5 iron is purely because I haven't got a 4 iron. But looking at the lofts, this is at 24 degrees, so it's only half a degree more loft than the 4 iron in the Blueprint. Okay, so I understand where you guys are coming from who've commented on this, thinking, well, i500, it's a blade, it looks like a blade, and that's the biggest thing I get with a lot of golfers when they look at that, go, oh, I can't hit that because it's a blade. It's not. It looks like a blade from the black, because obviously you don't see that cavity, but it's hollow. Okay, so it's obviously a much larger profile in terms of the head size against Blueprint, but it's also hollow. So that makes a massive difference to the forgiveness. It's basically like a cavity back iron, isn't it? So i500 was more of that powerful ball speed, very forgiving, but with that little bit more of a player's look behind the golf ball. And it sort of did that. You know, it's obviously not as small as Blueprint, but it is more of that slightly player's look, but with that explosive power. So the lofts are obviously tend to be a little bit stronger when we sort of see that type of iron. So what are the trade-offs, which is obviously what we're going to test now. In terms of that spin, a 5 iron against a 4 iron, okay, and we'll see maybe what this does differently. We're really interested to see if this actually goes further or same distance, or I don't know. Let's have a go. Okay, I cut put that a tiny bit heavy and just pull that a fraction. Seems to have gone a long way. Yeah, that went high and just stayed in the air. That's gone a long way. I know I did just slightly pull that, but that has absolutely flown. I think that spin mat just pulled off there because I caught it a little bit mat first. Okay, so that's higher than the 4-iron. We've already got half a degree of loft, but that is definitely flying higher. And that's a lot to do with the hollowness of the head, a bit more maybe spring loaded in that club face because of the hollow head design. And that really gets that ball popping up a little bit high, which is one of the reasons why they strengthen lofts off, to try and keep a control of that sort of launch angle. So putting that down by the ball, definitely a larger appearance, a little bit more offset, longer in that heel to toe length, blade length, and obviously that thicker top edge, but it's not obviously anywhere near like a G400 or G410 in terms of size. And it's very different acoustics and feel. Now, it says the word forged on the back of the i500, which it's a bit misleading, I think, in terms of what Ping have done there, because you think it's a whole forged head, you're going to get a beautiful buttery soft feel. You don't. For me, it's a forged face. The rest of the body is steel. It's a forged face, but I think because of the hollow of the head, the acoustics, it's quite a loud sound to it. So it's not something you would associate to that forged sort of head and that sort of muted feel that you would get, which is what you get with a blueprint. Yeah, so really high on that flight, very much louder on that acoustics, and they look to be going a little bit further at first glance. Okay, so what we're going to do first, we're just going to look at those numbers between the blueprint and the i500, see where that similar loft is going to be sitting. Obviously different numbers stamped on the bottom, but let's see what is happening with that spin, ball speed, and also that distance. Okay, so looking at the numbers, we've got the blueprint on the top, so 135.1 ball speed, 135.5, so a fraction more with the i500, but literally a smidge there over the averages, so hardly anything in between those two. You probably wouldn't expect that so much with a loft difference, but then again, you think of the hollow head, a little bit more spring. I expected a little bit more with the i500, if I'm being honest. Clearly launch, so 13.6 against 14.8, so a degree and a bit higher on the launch. Again, it's only half a degree difference, but again, that CG in the i500 will be pulled back more than it is in the blueprint, and that'll help to launch a little bit higher. Backspin number, you see 4830, which is quite a high number. We saw that with the blueprints, you know, very much a controllable iron as that comes into land. There's no issues with that stopping at all. And to be honest, a number that I thought was higher than what I was expecting to see with i500 there, so 4.4 in terms of spin. So still that's got a good bit of controlling, but it is flighting high. You can see the peak height, 33 yards against 35, and 202 carry distance with blueprint against 206. So we see a little bit more with obviously the i500. You see the first one just pumped up a little bit more there as that spin just dropped a fraction. You can see that went a little bit longer, just pulled that one a little bit more, which probably gained those extra yards. But to be honest, I was expecting a little bit more distance there. Okay, so just looking at those numbers first, we can actually see the i500 going fractionally further, the 5-iron in the i500 fractionally further than the 4-iron in the blueprint. So some of you golfers might be thinking, right, I might go say 5-iron, 6, 7, 8 upwards in blueprint, and then I'm going to switch my 4-iron into an i500 4-iron. But if you had a 4-iron in the i500 against a 5-iron in a blueprint, you can imagine that gap's going to be pretty big, isn't it? It's going to be really big. So you're going to affect that gap in as you come through that shot. Now, obviously, you have an option of going retrospect in i500, which was weaker loft, so that could just help. But my problem is that's, for me, is going to fly maybe too high, because these launch pretty high and hang in that air quite a long way. So I would say, you know, turning to wind, you've got a long iron, it's just going to go up that way. I don't know, it might be a little bit of a tougher experiment. Okay, so I'm going to throw in the i210 into the equation now. So a little bit of a different offering against these two. A little bit of a different offering. So it's a 5-iron again, but it's a 26 degrees, so a little bit more loft. Let's see how that sits in with these two. Okay, so i210. So For me, a very, very nice iron, and we see a lot of the tour players switching the long irons out and putting the I210s in there. The feel of these are great. It's not forged, but you've got that sort of bar in that back section, which creates some really good sort of acoustics. So should sort of be more of a sort of forged head sound, if that makes sense, but maybe not quite as soft as you'd expect with that blueprint. Okay, let's get this one hit. So this, as I say, this is 26 degrees as a standard loft on the I210 in the 5-iron. Just leak that a little bit bright, but again, that's a really high sort of bore flight. Yeah, that's dropped off straight away there. In all honesty, I did hit that a little bit right. It wasn't the greatest, well, it wasn't too bad a strike, but just left that face a tiny bit open. That's a better shot and a better strike. Again, really nice high ball flight. As I said, acoustics very different. That's landing a lot shorter. Acoustics very different there, not as explosive as that i500. Definitely a little bit more muted, bit softer sort of sound, which again, it's nowhere near what that blueprint is. That's just a stunning feel and sound, but it is a very nice sound with this i210. Again, lovely strike. Fracture up that left side. Yeah, just missing the green there a little bit. So we know that will just go a tiny bit further with a little bit less spin because of that shot shape. It's going to come short a little bit. Yeah, there it is. Okay, right. So clearly seeing some different carry numbers there. We have got a slightly different loft, as we appreciate, but some different head technologies. We've also got to weigh into that equation, not just lofts, but also some different head technologies of maybe how that ball's going to come off the spin, etc. So let's just see how i210 sits in with the blueprint and the i500. Okay, so let's have a look at that i210 and see how that sits in with the blueprint and the i500. So ball speed down a little bit, again 26 degrees of loft. We know we're going to lose a little bit of ball speed because of that slight more loft. Launching a little bit higher than i500, as you'd expect, again through that extra couple of degrees of loft, and spin goes up again because of that. So 193 as a carry number. So again, bear in mind this is a 5-iron, so this would, i210 would sit a lot closer to the blueprint 5-iron than the i500 is. Okay, because the i500 5-iron at the moment is going longer than the blueprint 4-iron. If you can keep up with me here, it's a little bit confusing, I know, but if you get this in your head right, you can see where I'm coming from. Whereas i210 5-iron is sitting 193, blueprint 4-iron 202, so it's very much nearer a gap in that you would sort of expect to sort of see. So what I'm saying there, if you drop that 4-iron out of that blueprint and replace it with a 4-iron in the i210, you're not going to be a million miles away in terms of gapping, or much closer than what you would see in i500. Okay guys, so hopefully that might just clear up in terms of a lot of the questions that get asked on my sort of review videos in terms of comboing these. And I think when you look at the i500 and the blueprint as a visual, you think, well, they're quite similar irons, but as you can clearly see there, very different lofts and very different performance of the spin and the ball speed, and how that sort of really comes out. So create some different gapping issues. So yes, looks in the bag, you've got that screw in the end, but it is a very, very different iron. So really in reality, what you're trying to do in terms of gapping, if you are wanting to replace that very slim 4-iron, in all honesty, with the blueprint out, I think that i210 is, albeit not the very similar on the looks of it, albeit or even the head size, but it's gapping in more, truer, isn't it? So you possibly, again, might have to go slightly weaker in that loft just to get it really dialed in from my numbers there, personally, anyway. But just goes to maybe show that if you were to possibly think about doing a split combo set, what I would probably do is order the blueprints first. Go, whether it's a 5-iron alongside or even a 6-iron, depending on how you feel, or if it's a 4-iron, then you replace a 3-iron. Again, that depends on you, but I would purchase those first, get playing with those, and then think, right, I now want to add in that long iron to sit in and that gap in, and then go and retest. Hit your, whatever your longest iron is in that blueprint, get some numbers from it, and then try some, if you can. I know it's not easy to, not every stockist will hold demos in every single iron and every single model, but if you can, try and test it and just get that gap in right. with that visual of that ball flight as well. Okay, hopefully you found that video interesting. I think that might just clear up a few of your guys' thoughts of you know, I want to combo it, and before you go out and order them and thinking on paper it looks great, they look visually the same, but obviously when you get out there and start hitting it, you see real mixed sort of yardages and crossover of those yardages. Let me know your thoughts on that, comment down below, love to hear your thoughts as always. If you haven't subscribed, enjoy the video, do share the video around with your friends, post on social media, hit the like button, but more importantly hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already, and hopefully we'll catch up with you all very soon.